Welcome to Intentionalist podcast. This is season 2, A Woman Rebuilding Back Her Power. Today's episode is going to discuss on how a woman navigate life with ease. Today's guest is a friend of mine. She has been here for season 1. Her name is Danielle Anderson.
Thank you so much for having me back on the podcast. I'm excited to talk about this topic. You know, it's one that's very dear to my heart too. I'm excited. Thank you.
You're most welcome. I will recommend that you go back also and after this, you also see what we discussed in season 1 when a woman is in her different transition. Then today we are going to do a take 2 for that particular conversation where we go deep into the principalities or other things that a woman really needs to focus on in order to get back on her trail. Tell me, what do you think or what do you hear when we say navigating life with ease?
I think the main thing with navigating life with ease is perfect for the title of your podcast, and it's about being intentional. Deciding what your priorities are so that you can really make conscious decisions about where you want to put your focus, where you want to put your time, and where you want to put your energy. But also setting up systems, processes, support, boundaries that allow you to focus on those things that are important and not get distracted by everything else. So living with ease is really about deciding where you want to put your time, your focus, your energy, and saying no to the things that are out of alignment with what really matters to you.
I like that, especially when you say learning how to say no often, because this is something that us women struggle so much with, especially because we are taught from a very young age to be the doers, to enable peace, to be the one making sure that everything is well taken care of. So no has not been part of our vocabularies for a very long time. How does a woman bring that back into her vocabularies and her realities so that she can experience this work-life balance?
I think you have to start small,
right?
And not say no to big things immediately. Start practicing with saying no to small things. You know, women are conditioned to also be people pleasers. And what about pleasing ourselves? We're people too. You know, thinking of yourself as the person that needs to be experiencing pleasure also. So if you can start with small little things, small little boundaries, and saying no to small things, that builds up that muscle, that courage, that confidence to start saying no to the bigger things as well, and identifying where you need to start saying no more often. But starting small is the way to get started.
Yes, because when you look at what usually bring the challenge, it's not knowing exactly what you really have to do, but it has much to do what will people say. If I say no, if I choose me. Can you talk a little bit more about that element of guilt that usually haunt us as mothers, as women, of how will other people think of me?
I mean, fortunately, I don't feel that, right? I don't really care what other people think of me, and rightly or wrongly, right? And so I never make my own decisions based on the fear of judgment from others. If they want to judge, let them judge. Even if you do everything perfectly into the book, into someone else's expectations, they're still going to find something to complain about. They're still going to find something to say to you that you've done something wrong. So letting go of that that fear of what others are going to say, because someone's going to always say something, whether you do something one way or do it another way or do it a third way, there's always going to be a comment. So it's about allowing yourself to stop caring so much about what other people are saying. And like I said, fortunately, I don't have this challenge so often. It's usually my own voice that I have to combat rather than other people's voices. The other thing I've noticed, though, is that when I did start to put boundaries in place, people didn't really say a lot against them. And I know we'll talk about this later in the episode, but when I started to put boundaries in place, most people actually came back to me and said, oh my gosh, I wish I could do that too. I wish I could have the courage to put a boundary in place. No one was saying, how dare you have that boundary, or how dare you act in that certain way. It was almost like, you've given me permission to do the same thing. So I think rather than fearing that people are going to have a negative reaction to a boundary or a negative reaction to a decision that you're making, try to think about the alternative, which is that they'll have a positive response to what you're saying instead. And let that guide you rather than the fear. Let the excitement of the positivity guide you instead. And it's very hard for us to do that because we go to the worst case scenario rather than the best case scenario. We really need to train our brains to think more positively rather than always believing that it's going to be doom and gloom.
Yeah, expressing your desires and staying detached on how people are going to react around that.
And even like when you do express your desires, some people are going to be very, very supportive of that.
Yes.
And if they're not supportive of that, you also have to ask yourself, am I surrounding myself with the right people? Do I need to change my circle? Do I need to get support in other places? Because if everyone is always against you, it's not a very nice reality.
I agree. And looking at probably the kind of circle of women that you work with or hang out with, when we are in our 30s and 40s, that's when we really want to excel. We want to pick up the pieces and move on. We want to make sure that things really work. What are the challenges and stressors that you have been noticing that are similar to women in that particular age group?
I think especially for women in their 30s and 40s, the biggest challenge that they all have is just conflicting priorities. We want to be all the things in all of the places. We want our careers to be great. That's also the age that many people maybe embark into motherhood and parenthood. It's also the age in which our parents start to get older and maybe their health is starting to decline, or even indeed they pass away. Life experiences happen a lot when we're in our 30s and especially in our 40s. Yeah. And navigating all of that whilst also meeting all of these demands and these priorities is certainly very difficult because we want to excel at our careers. We want to be excellent mothers. We want to be good daughters. We want to be good partners, good wives. We want to be good friends, good girlfriends. And we can't do it all the time. So I think alongside that is this misconception that balance exists. I think balance is a myth, right? Balance is you can have it all, but you can't have it all the time.
Yes.
You can't have it all 100% all of the time. Sometimes your marriage needs 80% of you. Maybe there's an issue that's happening that you really need to focus on. Sometimes your kids need 100% of you. Sometimes your family needs 40% of you. It ebbs.
Or your own health.
And yourself. Like, I mean, that's the challenge is that most of the time we neglect ourselves as we're pleasing everybody else, as we're catering to everyone else. And sometimes Danielle needs 100% of Danielle. And how do you get there? Maybe I can do 90%. It's 100% everywhere all the time is impossible. So, when you're thinking about your various priorities and the seasons that they're in, it's about recognizing that not everything is going to be able to be 100% all of the time. And that will dictate how much energy and time and focus we can put in these different areas of our life. And that's okay.
So are we trying to say that the work-life balance is not a momentum space to be? It's something that we pursue and chase to at least try to be at a certain level of satisfaction? Is that what you mean?
I think that work-life balance, so for me, work is a part of my life.
Yes.
Just like my child is a part of my life, my friends are a part of my life, my family is a part of my life. And so to look at it as its own separate component is where most of us are failing.
Yeah.
Because then we say, okay, work is these hours for some people it's 9 to 5, Monday through Friday. For us, it's not like that. But, they look at that time that they allot themselves work, and then they try to juggle everything else around that, rather than looking at their life very holistically and saying, okay, work is a component of my life, so is self-care, so is motherhood, so is partnership, so is friendship, and trying to then navigate all of those things simultaneously as much as we possibly can.
We would say that work-life balance might not just be considered as an isolated block, need to be something that is incorporated in our everyday lifestyle.
Of course, yeah.
And how to harmonize that? Can we talk about the element of habits and routines that can actually help you understand that this is a block like any other block in your everyday tasks?
Yeah, definitely. I love that.
Yeah.
It's something that I do now religiously in my life to really make sure that I am having time for all of these things that are important. So some of the habits that people can adopt and adapt to make life easier is creating routines for themselves. So let me give an example of my own schedule, my own week, and I know yours is also kind of similar. I have designated days for designated tasks. So for example, talking about business first, on Mondays, I don't take any external meetings. Monday is my day for admin. It's my day to sit at my desk and get things done. It's also my day to manage my team and let them know these are the tasks I need from you this week, to review anything, answer any questions. I then work with clients primarily only on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So anytime that someone wants a potential consultation to chat to me about becoming a client, if they want a strategy day, a strategy session, I organize those on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and I reserve those days for those things. Then Wednesdays, I call my strategy days for myself. Those are the days that I sit down and I work strategically on something in the business. That might be working on my marketing plan. It might be designing content for an upcoming workshop. It might be around fixing up my website, whatever it is. But I really block out that time to make sure that I can also work on the business. And then I take Fridays off. So by having those certain days and times for certain tasks, it helps to keep my brain in a specific place of like, okay, right now I'm working on this thing. And then you don't have to jump around so much and get very flustered. Another thing you can do, especially if you're one that has meetings very often, if you can't have those meetings online, is to have a designated location where people come to you throughout the day. You park yourself at a beautiful cafe, or you rent a space in a co-working space. Rather than going out there and fighting this traffic for hours on end, you sit down and let people come to you. And again, this is a boundary that you can exert. It's like, okay, you come to me during these times, and these are the times that I'm available. So often we bend over backwards and say, okay, I'll fit around your schedule. Why? Allow other people to fit around your schedule too.
Yeah, we will discuss more on boundaries and having work specific blocked timing for work, blocked timing for self-care.
Exactly.
I did that. This is now almost my second year in the same. It was very difficult to block Fridays, like a midday. I don't have a client to onboard on Friday at all. First, you start sabotaging that particular day. If you get a client, you say, what if this is the only time the client have the time to attend classes? What if this is the only time I will probably get a client to come on board? Deserting that fear and saying that I deserve also that particular rest, allowing yourself to know that if I don't pour back into myself, I might not get enough energy to provide into others.
Definitely. And I think alongside that, of course, there's sometimes exceptions, right? Sometimes we have to meet a client on a Friday. Or you have to do a podcast recording on a Friday. That's okay. But then carve out a different day of that week to still have time for yourself, because otherwise we just burn out in the process, and that doesn't serve any of us well.
I agree. Can we talk about that, giving yourself the freedom? Because many people have gotten stuck with that element. I don't have time. Key 3 principles that you go by when it comes to the word freedom.
Freedom for me is around time freedom, financial freedom, and location freedom. Those are the ones that are most relevant for me. So time freedom, it's easy to say I don't have time for that, but it's really down to prioritizing, setting boundaries, and also sticking to what you say you're going to do when you say you're going to do it. We all have the same 24 hours in a day. Why is it that some people can get so much done and other people don't? So it's around also having discipline to get things done when you say you're going to. So for example, if I say that I have a 3-hour strategy block on Wednesdays to work on stuff for my business, I have to sit down for those 3 hours and work on that stuff for my business. I can't just sit there and procrastinate and wait until the end of the 3-hour block and be like, oh, well, I didn't find the time. So it's really about having that discipline of, this is my schedule, this is what I'm going to stick to, and I will be better off for it if I can do it. So we have to create our own freedom. Freedom is definitely a choice for us about the decisions that we're making every day, the way that we're behaving every day, the activities that we're choosing to do every day. The other thing around time, especially if you're a business owner or even if you're an executive in an employment, is making sure you have support around you to do other things, because you as a one-woman team, you can't do everything. Something is going to fail, and something is going to fall through the cracks, and something is going to lose out on the prioritization because it's not as important as something else. So really allowing yourself again to have that support around you to take on some of those administrative duties or things that take you a lot of time, so that you can also free up your time.
Having that element of delegating, this is another thing that many of my clients or women that you work with really struggle with. a woman who wants to build back her power has to have a certain level of delegating tasks and building trust into others. What are actionable steps somebody can take into delegating tasks?
Yeah. So the way that I teach my clients to start delegating is to first start with a brain dump of all of the activities that they need to do to run their business. So you get an empty sheet of paper, you write down everything that you need to be doing on a daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, annual basis, everything to run your business. And then you go through that list again and you ask yourself very critically, which of these tasks can only Danielle do? Which of these tasks can only Alice do? Which of these tasks could I automate or put systems around so that they're done faster or easier? And which of these tasks can I give to someone else? And maybe that someone else doesn't exist yet because you don't have that team member.
Yes.
But what could be done by somebody else? So the first step is identifying the task that you want to eventually start to offload. The second thing you need to do once you find the right person is train them. Take the time to actually take them through what they are meant to be doing and the standard in which you want them to do it to. Because we are not mind readers.
Yes.
We shouldn't expect the people around us to assume that this is how they should be doing something, because we all do things differently. We all have a different natural inclination of how we do things. So really making sure that you're very clear about, these are the standards that I want you to follow. These are the timelines that I want you to follow. This is the communication that you and I are going to have in order to make sure that everything is seamless. And also telling them, if you have any doubts, come to me soon. Don't wait until the last minute. Don't wait until a mistake has been made and then you're trying to cover it up or you're trying to bring it to me. If you're unsure, please be open with your communication. And then you start practicing that muscle of delegation. You give people small tasks to start with, things that are not going to ruin your business if there's a small mistake.
Yeah.
And if there is a mistake, then you coach them. You don't just say, oh, they made a mistake, therefore they're no good. We were all new at something once in our lives, and we're still new at things, if we allow ourselves to be continuous learners. So giving people the grace to make mistakes and not treat them like idiots if they do so. Coach them through how you want things done, and just recognize that it might take more than one chance before they get the things absolutely right. But the onus is on us to communicate properly, to set our expectations, to set our standards, and to make those very clear to the people around us so that they do things properly. And if we are upset with how someone is doing something, to also vocalize it, right? Not just to assume, oh, they can see that I'm mad and therefore they're going to understand that they've done something wrong. No, we have to say, look, I really didn't like the way that you did X, Y, Z. I would appreciate if next time we can try it in this manner instead. And again, be the grown-up in the situation and have that communication. So that's how I recommend to my people, my clients, to start the process of delegation. And once you do it and you start to notice the freedom that it gives you, you become more willing to look for those opportunities to offload even more.
What would you tell to a woman who is listening to us today and they are feeling lost, they are feeling stuck, they don't know how to take their rail for 2025, yet everyone else is having their vision board, their growth plan, their business plan? How can we motivate this kind of woman who is having overwhelm? Ease is not one of the vocabularies that she can speak proudly of.
Yeah, I think the first thing is that stop putting yourself under those timelines, right? Last year my child was then just over a year old. I was slowly getting back into business, although I was doing business before, but slowly getting back into business. And I hadn't been doing any marketing, right? The pressure at the beginning of the year was like, oh, you must get back into these things. You have to hit the ground running. You have to figure everything out. And I still had no idea about what I wanted things to look like. And so the first email that I sent to my mailing list was in May. And the title was Happy New Year. And I said, very jokingly, I was like, I feel like now the year has finally started. I feel like now I'm ready to go. And that was May. So don't put yourself under this pressure to start strong in January. You can start at any time. You can restart at any time. And I think another thing to remember is that our lives go through seasons. So we are not always meant to be in summer. Meaning we're not always meant to be in full bloom with the sun shining and everything is going great and you're reaping the rewards of everything that you've been doing. Sometimes, just like nature around us, we have to go into winter. Everything has to die. Everything has to fall apart. Everything has to crumble so that you can start that rebuilding process.
Yeah.
And winter doesn't necessarily mean June, July, or in the Northern Hemisphere, December. Winter can happen in September. Winter can happen in January. So just giving yourself that grace that it's okay if you still feel a bit stuck at this point in time. It's okay if you need to give yourself more time to figure things out. Sometimes you can't force the answer, even if you are working with a coach like you or a coach like me. Yeah. Sometimes you just have to allow yourself the space and the time to breathe and to allow the ideas to come eventually, to allow yourself to finally feel that momentum. It was only at the start of this year that I finally felt, wow, okay, this year I feel that momentum again. I feel the focus. I feel the motivation to hit the ground running, to be starting the year strong, all these cliche statements that we use.
Yeah.
After 3 years, right?
Yeah.
And it's okay. And yeah, those 3 years were tough. There were definitely low moments of them, but we have to go through that process. Life is not linear in the sense of always climbing upwards, upwards, upwards. It goes like this.
Yes, I think that's one of the things that make mothers even destroy themselves more, because we are called to be caretakers in our good days and bad days. And sometimes bad days can take longer, where you feel demotivated, where you feel zero energy, where you feel like you are not in your space, but you have to breastfeed, you have to maybe make money, you have to bring something at the end of the day. How does a woman who is empty in her spirit find courage to keep responding to her life demand without exploding?
I mean, I wish I knew that $1 million answer, right? I think we all go through these phases of being in survival mode.
Yeah.
And you're just literally waking up every day and doing what you have to do because it has to be done.
Yes.
Like you said, you're breastfeeding, like your child still needs your boobs. Like, thank God that journey is over. But when I was in the middle of it, like it still had to happen. And in order to do that, I had to eat a lot and I had to make sure I wasn't stressed. And we place so many demands on a woman of like, don't eat that. You'll give your baby gas. Don't eat that. But make sure you're eating lots of that. And it exemplifies itself in many, many ways. But I think the first thing is, sometimes you have no choice but to be courageous, right? Sometimes you have no choice but to keep going, because what's the alternative? You lie there and you die? That's the alternative, right? Life is continuing until the day it doesn't continue anymore. So as long as you have life, you just have to keep going. And some days are going to be hard. Some days are going to be magnificent. And I think it's an appreciation of every storm runs out of rain.
Yes.
Every storm runs out of rain. One day, there won't be any rain left and the sun will be there again and the clouds will clear and you'll feel the heaviness has lifted. And it's not necessarily because of anything that you've done. It's just because that storm has now passed. You are through that season, you are through that storm, and now you can move on and do something else. And of course, when you're in it, it feels debilitating. It feels impossible. It feels like it's going to be raining forever. But if you look back in your past experiences, it doesn't last forever. When you're in the middle of it, it sucks, but eventually it's going to pass. Yeah. So I think in those moments when you are feeling, you ask like, how do you not explode? Yeah. Sometimes you have to explode. Yes. Sometimes you have to let that emotion out. You have to let that rage out, that anger, that disappointment, that guilt, that fear, that resentment, that victim mentality. You have to allow it to explode. And then when it explodes, you can kind of come back to yourself and recenter and reground yourself and decide, okay, I feel better. Let me now move forward. And, so getting support for that, whether that be our friends often can't hold space the way that we need them. Yes. Let's be honest. Everyone's going through their own thing. So often you need to pay for support. You need to find a therapist. You need to find a coach. You need to find a community of like-minded people who are experiencing the same thing as you. And of course, you don't want to be dragged down necessarily by other people's misery or hardships, because that's also very difficult, especially if you're an empath and you take on other people's stuff. But making sure that you do get support in that, in whatever form that looks like.
Shifting your mindset. The problems are going to be there throughout, but how do I look this problem with a different mindset? How do I just not see limitations and see possibilities? As you said, it can't rain forever. Every season is not a permanent season. A season is seasonal. What is the mindset shift a woman in this particular season need to have? Which level of fluidity can they now starting imply, and how can they cultivate and stretch their mindset through thinking and seeing possibilities other than just seeing problems, limitations, lack?
I think it's different for every woman because the voice in every woman's head is saying something different to her, right? So the first thing is really that self-awareness, starting to recognize, what is this voice in my head telling me? Because if you start to notice that voice in your head and all of the bad things that it's saying to you, all of the negative messages that it's feeding to you, without effort throughout the day, you'll be shocked. Like, why are you talking to yourself like that? You would never talk to another person like that. So the first thing is self-awareness, recognizing, what is the voice telling me? Writing it down, writing down all of those limitations, all of those negative thinking, all of those beliefs that are holding you back, even the fear of what might happen in the future. Like, what if this happens? And what if this happens? So write them all down and then flip them. Write them into an empowering statement instead. So for example, if one of your things is saying like, this is never going to end. I'm going to be here. I'm going to be stuck like this forever. The alternative to that could be, every storm runs out of rain. Every season comes to an end. This phase is only temporary. So flipping that into a positive statement instead. If your voice is always telling you like, I never have enough, or I am not enough, you say, no, I have all of these things around me. Look at the abundance that's coming to me every day. Look at the beautiful friendships that I have. Look at the food that's on our table. Look at the home that we're in, that we're able to sleep in every night safely and securely and warm, and really start to appreciate the things that are there, even though there might be things that you don't have yet that you want, showing gratitude for what's there. Because when we show that gratitude, I know it sounds a bit cliche, but when we show that gratitude, more comes back. The abundance comes to us. So I think for every woman, it is different. It's based on what those voices are telling her, but really spending time with them and flipping them, writing alternatives as well. And I don't know about you, but like affirmations really work.
They do. Yeah.
And again, for me, it's a bit woo-woo, right? But they really work.
I think they don't work for someone who's always sabotaging their thinking. That's where I was before, sitting down and say, I am abundant. I have everything. Life comes easy for me. Used to trigger me so much because that used never to be my reality. I used to feel like everything, I have to work hard. I have to hustle for it. I have to chase it. That constant habit of chasing. So until I rewired my mindset toward that, is something that is my choice. Freedom is my choice. Being in an unhurried life is my choice. If I choose to do that, then I can make it my reality. Until I practically practiced that and now installed those tasks and moments of acknowledging myself, affirmation became easier for me. So when you are struggling with affirmation, when you cannot affirm good life in you, start by seeing what is blocking you. Acknowledge that. Talk to your fears. Don't dispel them. And then now create a new reality, as Danielle said. Counter those reality in your head by elaborating good, positive things that are happening. Start noticing small positive changes that are happening that are around you. The thing that I have seen most of the time is that when something like a danger thing or something that is a challenge crowd our mind, it makes us not even acknowledge the little wins that we have.
Definitely. We just get so focused on the negatives. And our mind is always going to be looking for validation of whatever it is that we're telling ourselves anyway. So if you're constantly telling yourself something negative, your mind is going to immediately pick out all of the negative things that support that belief. If you start telling yourself a positive belief instead, you will eventually shift your mind to start noticing those positive things too.
Correct. Can we tell women who are listening to us other things that you do to help them actually actualize ease and inviting ease in their lives, having the freedom and experiencing their freedom as part of their life, and also doing the things they love the most doing. Yeah.
I mean, for me, I schedule those things in, right? So if there's other things that are fulfilling for me, whether that be self-care activities like massages or flotation therapy or even talking therapy, if there's things that I'm doing, I make sure that those go into my calendar, workouts, and then I move other things to fit around that, right?
Yes.
So treating myself like a priority too. And mind you, I'm a single parent. I don't have a partner at home looking after my child. My nanny leaves every day at 6:00 and comes in at 8:30. So I have to squeeze everything into
The
those
daytime
hours of the day.
Yes.
That includes business. That includes self-care. That includes errands. That includes coming and doing podcast recordings. They all have to fit into those days.
Yeah.
And because of that, again, I structure everything, I plan everything, I put everything into one calendar so that I can very clearly see what everything is. So identify the things that fill you. You know, what sort of things do you need to be doing that actually allow you to continue to fill your own cup so that you can pour into others? What things bring you joy? What things bring you peace? Also accepting help, right?
Yes.
Fortunately, we live in a society and in a country where help is
Available.
and affordable, right? This isn't the case for people in places I've lived before.
Yes.
And so accepting that help and not feeling guilty taking it. I'll share a personal story. Up until December of last year, I only had my nanny come Monday through Friday.
Yes.
Right? Because I also wanted to be a present parent. I recognize our kids are only small for a certain amount of time. By the time they're 12, we've spent 75% of our time with them in their lifetime, which was a crazy statistic for me to hear.
Yes.
And so I wanted to be involved. I wanted to be present. I didn't want to just feel like my nanny is the one raising my child, which I'm sure a lot of us feel also.
Yeah.
And so I decided that weekends, it was just going to be me and him, right? That means I have zero time for myself. Even the Friday day that I have off, I'm still trying to do all of those things for me, but then I go back into working on the weekends, but as a mom rather than as a business owner.
Yes.
And so I wasn't really getting that time. So one of the things that I gave myself permission for was having my nanny come on some Saturdays. She doesn't have to come every Saturday. She can come alternating Saturdays. She doesn't have to come for a full day. She can come on a half day. But giving myself that permission to have a little bit of extra help so that I can go for a walk in the forest by myself, go for a coffee without having to share it, like all of these things that we also need, and not doing that on my Friday, which is designated as a rest day. So those little things, where else can you accept some support? Where are you denying support from helping you? Like what small tweaks can you make? Other things, like I know a lot of people don't enjoy preparing meals, right? I like cooking, but I don't like cooking if I have to cook and every single time. So fortunately, again, my nanny is happy to cook, but if she weren't, I'd have a chef come and batch prepare things. We were chatting before this recording on Sundays, you do batch cooking with your daughter, and that allows you to have things that are there. So I think alongside that is trying to simplify your decision-making process.
Yes.
So that you're not thinking on the day, what are we going to eat right now? Maybe you have a meal plan. Maybe you have things in the freezer. You can just pull things out. You can also simplify other parts of your life in decisions.
Oh yes.
Having a capsule wardrobe, having a capsule wardrobe. So you're not looking at a sea of clothes that you have to choose from. You have a few pieces that you can mix and match, and it makes your wardrobe choices easier.
Yes.
Even things like having the same thing for breakfast every day. Yeah, maybe it's boring, but it removes the decision
making all
of
the
having
time,
to do it.
draining your brain of making a decision every single day. Because that is one of the things that really drain us. I appreciate you doing that. We are almost similar into that, simplifying things and not being ashamed to not do certain things.
Yeah.
Because for me, that has been the main big challenge of, a mother has to do ABCD, a wife has to do ABCD. I'm also alone most of the time throughout the year with the children. So I have to, my work life, my personal life has to start between drop off and pick up.
Yeah.
So any business deal, any negotiation, any personal care or any other thing has to fit within that particular window. So it requires discipline. It requires a planned life, a planned calendar, and then really courage and commitment to really stay within that particular window.
Yeah.
So I gave up on so many things, on making my bed most of the time, or cooking from scratch every single day. Yeah. All those things that used to maybe make you feel like you are a good wife or you are a good mother. I gave up on those to create more time, not only for my work, but also for my children and myself. So weekend probably used to be, let's do another activity. When I was with my son alone, we would spend most of the time in the malls or doing activity as together. Now we are the four of us.
Yeah.
So if they have different activities or we have a small time to stay together, we would rather do something that make us stay together and we enjoy that time as a family.
Yeah.
So having a personalized routine, having a personalized plan is going to help you not only create time for yourself, but also allow you to be present. Because sometimes we are there, but without being present.
Exactly.
Yeah, you are with the children, but your mind is at work.
Yeah.
You are still processing things, unfinished things that you needed to write. You're still processing other things. Your presence matter, both emotionally and physical presence.
Definitely. And I think also we have to remember that we are an example to our children. So our children are not going to expect us to be there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. They don't even know the concept of time yet.
No.
Really, right? But what they will notice as they age is, wow, mom also was chasing after her dreams. Mom was also taking time for herself. Mom was doing the things that she loves, and she was being a mother, and she was being a wife, and she was being this. And that will allow them later on in their life to know that they can make the same choices for themselves and prioritize themselves and break this kind of people-pleasing expectation that we grew up with, right? That they can also have these decisions that they make for themselves. So I think we're constantly setting examples, and we have to choose which examples is it that we want to set. They won't notice that you didn't make dinner 5 nights a week.
Yes.
My son grows up thinking, okay, my nanny is the one that cooks for me, and that's great. And the times that we do cook, I cook with him. I involve him in that activity. And he sits there and chops garlic and he's doing, and then it's enjoyable when we remove the pressure to do things. Then when you do them, you can enjoy them, you can be present in them, you can appreciate them, and not feel like it's just an obligation that you're ticking off the box.
I appreciate that. I would like us to conclude by also telling our listeners or the people who are looking at our episode, what are the services that you offer? What help do you give women so that they can experience ease, particularly as a business?
Yeah, great. Thanks for asking that. Yeah. So my primary focus is working with women business owners, and I support them in creating strategies, systems, and most importantly, boundaries so that they can work less hours and make more money. Money may not be your motivation, but money is definitely something that we need in order to fund our lives, to have the lifestyle that we want, to enjoy the things that we want to enjoy without feeling that constant pressure of where's the next bit going to come from. I work with clients in a number of different ways. I have group programs available. I have one-off strategy days available to get very clear on specific topics. And then I have also longer programs of one-to-one for 3 months. But you can reach me at my website, www.stepandstone.com, and contact me through there, and we can set up a consultation to talk more about what your specific needs are.
Yeah. Do you have any particular program that you are running right now that speak about ease, freedom, and systems that can help them become more efficient in delivering their mandate and also incorporate rest in their everyday life?
Yeah, so all of my programs incorporate elements of freedom, ease, boundaries, and systems, irrespective of which one you go for. My mastermind is a 3-month group program, which the next cohort will start in early April and run for 3 months. And there'll be another one that happens later in the year. And that's really about allowing you to identify your main areas of focus for the quarter and how you're going to take consistent and accountable action towards getting those things done. My one-to-one programs run throughout the year based on availability. So I am now accepting clients for April also for Q2. And in those, we really structure your business in a way that makes things easier for you. So what that might look like is creating systems and processes so that you can get rid of some of those repetitive tasks. It might be supporting you in identifying the boundaries that you need to create and holding your hand as you start to execute them so that you get past this fear of like, what if people have a bad response? What do I do if XYZ happens? You know, these what if scenarios. You get my support throughout to handhold you as you execute on those. I also can support you in identifying different types of resources you might need on your team so that you can start to delegate more. All of that is contained within my one-to-one programs and also this group mastermind. So everything is ongoing throughout the year based on availability. So do get in touch if it's something that appeals to you.
We will link her website link and any other way you can reach out to her so that you can experience ease, have freedom, and also elaborate systems that are going to help you run your life efficiently. Before we close, there is one thing that I don't know if it happens to you as well. When I post something on my social media, ladies tell me, oh, I wish I can swim on a Wednesday. I wish I can do cycling on Wednesday. I wish I can do that. How do you manage to meet your life demand, make money, and also be present in your children's life activities and your personal life? And some people think that freedom is a privilege. Mm-mm. What do you think?
I think freedom is a choice.
Mm-hmm.
I really believe that freedom is a choice. And I love that we're talking about freedom. It's my theme for the year on all of my marketing channels. On Instagram, you'll see that it's there as well. Freedom is a choice because we have the power to make decisions to allow ourselves that freedom.
Yes.
If you want to be able to swim on a Wednesday, create a schedule that allows you to swim on a Wednesday by saying, I am not available to have this meeting, or I am not available to take on this work. And I know it's scary. I know it, especially people that are early on in business and they fear that the money's not going to come, or they're stressed about, you know, where the clients will come from. They want to say yes to every single opportunity. And so maybe it does come a little bit later once you feel a bit more established. I get that, you know, but it is a choice. You can change your mind. And my mind was changed during COVID because my life, where I used to travel all around and I used to go after this opportunity and that opportunity, all came grinding to a halt because I couldn't physically go anywhere. And when I learned that it was a beautiful thing to sit at home and to have abundance of time and to decide how I wanted to spend it, that's when I started to implement my boundaries. And then when I saw the benefits of those boundaries, it was super simple to then continue with them. So freedom is a choice. If you don't feel like you have the ability to do it 5 days a week, Sawa, no problem. Do it. Start with an afternoon. Take an afternoon off. You know, when I first started taking Fridays off, for me, that was a foreign concept because I used to work evenings, weekends, every Friday, most Saturdays. I always was working. And so initially it felt very foreign to me to take that time off. And now it's a non-negotiable. So freedom is not a privilege. Of course, there are some privileges, like you have to believe that you have enough money to be able to take that time off. So it's about working out, how much money do I actually need? What does my business need to look like in order for me to make that sort of money? Making those intentional choices that support that. So for example, maybe you need to raise your prices. Maybe you need to change your offer. Maybe you have to go after a different target market, but intentionally making those decisions along the way that support what your dreams for freedom are. Maybe the type of freedom you want isn't a time freedom. Maybe you want creative freedom. You want to be able to make your own decisions. You want to be able to implement your own programs, to put your own voice out in the world. Again, every decision that you make then needs to align with that dream of freedom for you. And so it's really about being clear about, what does freedom mean to you? What do you want that to look like? And how do you now need to align your life and your business to support that? But it is a choice.
Thank you so much. Did you not enjoy this conversation? Would you like to have Danielle one more time? I believe you do. Now, check in the description below. Her website is there, her contact is there, so that you can go and really go deep in this concept, that you can finally live your desired life where you can experience ease, freedom, and systems that are going to support you navigate life with ease.